Whether it's the eye of the tiger, the thrill of the fight, or a bizarre combination of the two, the animal kingdom has done a stand-up job at producing some of the fiercest contenders imaginable. The thing is, while nearly every animal on the planet is hardwired to ensure their own survival no matter the cost, some of those creatures have evolved to become supercharged when facing down impossible odds. From the microscopic and most unassuming of life forms to the largest reptiles on Earth. Let's take a look at the 15 most fearless animals on the planet. Fearless rat. Sure, what better way to kick off this list than by turning your attention toward one of the most unexpected displays of fearless inner-city rodent. Then with the otherwise unbelievable tale of a fearless street rat. And no, this isn't some Disney movie, but instead a jaw-dropping display of rats taking on animals 10 times their size. Yeah, you know how the story goes about giant rats fighting with humans in sewers. Yeah, this is probably where they originated from. When it comes to punching above your weight, this strange series of footage shows an array of fearless rats taking down chickens, cats, and even large dogs. While it may appear that these rats have developed some psychopathic tendencies, the actual reason behind this bizarre behavior may be far more sinister. Recently, scientists have theorized that the Toxoplasma parasite, which usually infects mice, may have spread into rats. When it infects them, it alters their behavior so that they become fearless enough to seek out larger creatures, get eaten, and then spread to a more capable and resourceful animal. In the case of rats, however, it seems that the parasite has instead created an army of terrifying rodents that seem to avoid the whole getting eaten part and instead just tear their way through the neighborhood. Yikes, sounds like a horror movie, right? Hey, did you know that if you smash the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell, you're more likely to win the lottery? So what are you waiting for? The honey badger. When it comes to extraordinary creatures that defy the expectations of what is and what isn't possible in the animal kingdom, we can't speak about fearless animals on the planet without mentioning the most cantankerous and terrifying species known to mankind. Yeah, we don't say that lightly. And if you think that you could ever go toe-to-toe with a honey badger, then think again.
They have these really complex ecological lives, these very broad diets. So they need to climb, they need to dig.
The honey badger bows down to no one and is one of the most insane and resilient animals on Earth. Take, for example, the fact that the honey badger is pretty much impervious to even the deadliest of snake venom, possessing the ability to shake off the incredibly potent neurotoxin cocktail of cobra venom like a seasoned beer drinker at Oktoberfest. There's almost nothing that the animal kingdom can throw at a honey badger in order to come out on top, just shy of dropping a nuclear warhead out of thin air and hoping it gets obliterated in the process. Native to several places across the planet, primarily being South Africa, the Indian subcontinent, and Southwest Asia, the honey badger has virtually no natural predators. Zero. Zilch. In many cases, even the king of the jungle or the most ferocious of tigers would think twice about picking a fight with a honey badger, given the fact that its skin is so rubbery and resilient that it has commonly been known to deflect blows from a machete. Yeah, we're not sure what else we can say. The honey badger is a ravenous killing machine and a stone-cold action hero, all rolled into one. It literally has no fear. The ibex. It seems that even a fear of heights is enough to dissuade most predators, and for the alpine ibex of the European Alps, living at the tip-top of the mountain has ensured their survival as a species. It comes with one small price to pay though, clinging on to an almost vertical cliff face nearly 10,000 feet in the air. For those of you unfamiliar with these astonishing creatures, the alpine ibex are essentially large mountain goats native to the breathtaking ridges and peaks of the European Alps. And their native habitat sees them occupying steep, rocky terrain throughout most of the year. During spring and summer, the ibex live amongst the confines and meadows of the lower mountains where they feed on the plentiful grasses, fattening up for their terrifying time during the harsh alpine winters. You see, once winter arrives, the fearful switch in their brain flicks off and they head up to the clouds where they literally cling on to the vertical slopes in order to avoid hungry predators. In more recent decades, as the landscape has become dotted with man-made structures, the ibex has even taken to walking up dam walls to simulate their safe havens. They literally have no fear when it comes to climbing heights, and their behavior is an astonishing sight to behold. Jaguars. Alright, you may be thinking that we've had some pretty unexpected entrants so far in this list. Rats, mountain goats, badgers. Where the heck are the actual stone cold killers? Well, fear not, because the most fearless of all the big cats is without a doubt the shadowy jaguar. Although the jaguar isn't exactly the largest of big cats, believe it or not, relative to its size, it has the strongest bite of any other, tigers included. In fact, pound for pound, the jaws of a jaguar can exceed unbelievable amounts of pressure per square inch, down to its unique arrangement of jaw muscles that act almost like a vice, and have been known to bite straight through the skull of its prey with ease, and even pierce the thick skin of a caiman. Having that incredible weapon in their arsenal, the jaguar has adapted to fear among almost no other creature in the wild. Although they're rarely studied in their native habitat, jaguars are truly astonishing creatures, and in the past they were found to stretch across an enormous geographical range from Argentina to the southwestern states of America. Centuries ago, jaguars were amongst the top predators in the United States, ranging from Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and Southern California. But tragically, overhunting and habitat loss has resulted in the gradual disappearance of these amazing creatures. Despite that, the jaguar is a natural-born survivor and continues to reign supreme in its habitat, fearful of nothing and no one. Young elephant defends against 14 lions. Elephants are truly astonishing creatures, and although they may seem like gentle and docile giants, when it comes to defending their loved ones and fellow elephants, they fear no other creature in the wild. Take, for example, this jaw-dropping tale where a young elephant somehow managed to defend itself from a relentless assault against 14 fully grown lions. The elephant in question, who managed to earn himself the nickname Hercules, became the new king of the jungle after he fended off against 14 lions in Zambia, after being set upon by a pride of females. Despite the fact that the lions were clawing at Hercules and even jumping on his back at one point, the ordeal somehow resulted in the infant elephant periodically charging at the pride of lions in order to chase them away. And although it looked pretty hairy at most points, he survived the assault relatively unscathed, reuniting with his herd just shortly afterwards. Although it may not be the case for every elephant, Hercules is certainly a fearless hero in his own right. Tarantula hawks. With a name like Tarantula hawk, you could bet your money that it was going to end up somewhere on this list. However, although the tarantula hawk is one of the largest parasitic wasps in the natural world, as you may imagine, it's also gained its reputation for possessing the most painful wasp sting of all time. Armed with one of the most excruciating insect arsenals on the planet, the tarantula hawk takes its name for its terrifying ability to hunt down tarantula, which sounds like the most fearless sport ever conceived, right? Also, you may have already guessed by its name that the tarantula hawk is pretty darn large, and the average tarantula hawk can grow up to 2 inches in length, with some of them having been known to nearly double that. Its sting is capable of paralyzing its most common arachnid prey, where it then drags it into a specifically prepared burrow and lays a single egg into the spider's abdomen. When the larvae hatch, they create a hole in the spider's abdomen, where it then eats them from the inside out. Yeah, if you expect this insane insect to be fearful of any other creature on the planet, then you've got another thing coming. Polar bears. Okay, sure, we probably couldn't make this list without somewhere mentioning one of the most fearless animals on Earth, and when you're the ferocious overlord of the frozen north, there are only a few things to be scared of. The truth is, given the fact that nearly every member of the Earth sign species could be heralded for their astonishing levels of physical strength and power, pound for pound, bears are amongst the strongest animals on Earth. On both land and sea, the polar bear of the Arctic North is perhaps the most perfectly attuned apex predator of them all. And believe it or not, it even possesses a stronger bite than a great white shark. It's not just their bite that makes them the fearless Arctic action hero that they are, but polar bears are incredibly adept at facing the perilous waters of the Arctic Ocean, capable of swimming hundreds of miles to travel from territory to territory with ease. Given the fact that they can also reach top speeds of nearly 30 miles per hour, you can understand just exactly why these polar predators are so dang capable. And more importantly, they're devastatingly effective in their own environment, fearing nothing that both nature and civilization can throw at them. The cryogenic weta. Alright, while this next entry may seem a little weird, if you're judging the fearlessness of creatures on their ability to withstand astonishing amounts of trauma and physical pain, this bizarre bug is the most fearless creature on the planet. For those of you that don't know, in the South Pacific, exclusively in New Zealand, the bizarre weta bug is somewhat of a celebrity, down to the fact that there's almost nothing like them on the rest of the planet. Wetas come in an incredible variety, with each of them adapted perfectly to whatever niche they cling to. In one strange adaptation that seems to be something straight out of a science fiction novel, one variety of the weta, the so-called mountain stone weta, has evolved to be frozen in ice for several months, effectively being able to survive a nuclear apocalypse and then thaw out and continue on with its life. Yeah, that's pretty darn useful. Astonishingly, fossil records also suggest that this creature has pretty much stayed exactly the same for over 190 million years, with evidence from the Triassic period showing striking similarities between the weta and its ancient ancestors. Endemic only to New Zealand, the mini species of weta insect takes its name from the Maori word wetapunga, meaning god of the ugly things. Sure, it may be ugly, but it's a fearless survivor too. Angry rhinos. Alright, move aside because here comes the rhino. The thing is, although they may seem intimidating and ferocious on the surface, given that huge horn, the rhinoceros is actually a remarkably docile animal. Well, for the most part anyway. Thousands of years ago, rhinos roamed throughout most of the planet, and they were abundant across Europe, Asia, and Africa. Tragically, although at the beginning of the 20th century an estimated 500,000 rhinos roamed Africa and Asia, today there are as few as 29,000 that remain in the wild, and very few rhinos exist outside national parks and reserves due to illegal poaching and criminal activity. In that case, they're pretty fearful of essentially every other animal, humans included. However, when you spook a rhino, you have to expect the horn. Back in 2019, footage emerged of a rhino charging a safari car at the South African National Park of Sabi Sands, and although the safari goers inside the vehicle thankfully escaped with minor bruising, the incredible power of these astonishing creatures was captured firsthand. Considering the fact that rhinos can weigh upwards of 8,000 pounds and still run close to 40 miles per hour for extended periods of time, yeah, you can see how much damage these angry animals can produce. Whew. Tardigrades. Sure, there are some pretty darn huge animals on this list, but when it comes to surviving literally anything and everything that the universe can throw at you, it pays to be on the smaller side. Well, on the microscopic side, actually. If you've ever heard of a tardigrade, otherwise known as the water bear, you'll know that these microscopic creatures are perhaps the hardiest and most resilient life form known to science. Seriously, these things can survive without food or water for over 30 years, meaning that tardigrades are essentially immortal. Yeah, you heard that correctly, 30 years. As you may imagine, that essential immortality has done wonders for the tardigrade's bravery, effectively making them the most fearless creatures in the universe. Hey, when you can find us any other life form that can physically survive in the vacuum of space, then we'll reevaluate that claim. Until then, the tardigrade reigns supreme. Emperor penguins. Although they may not appear to be fearless creatures, the astonishing bravery of the emperor penguin is enough to earn them a spot on this list. Sure, penguins aren't exactly the most hardcore of animals, but their annual migration that pits them against the harshing environment of planet Earth has instilled in them an undeniable sense of fearlessness, unrivaled by any other bird. During breeding season, which is throughout winter of course, emperor penguins walk over 75 miles in frozen blizzards just to mate. Male members of the species will sit still for weeks on end over their fertilized egg, enduring frequent snowstorms, 100-mile-per-hour winds, and temperatures that drop as low as -40 degrees. It may not exactly be the most glamorous of characteristics, but it's certainly one of the bravest. Emperor penguins are perhaps the most fearless birds on planet Earth. Komodo dragons. Okay, we certainly couldn't make this list without mentioning one of the most death metal creatures on Earth, the Komodo dragon, a lizard so fearsome and terrifying that its namesake is derived from the winged, fire-breathing serpent of myth and legend. In reality, though, the Komodo dragon is just as terrifying and fearless as its fictional namesake. Reaching up to 10 feet in length and weighing in at more than 300 pounds, Komodo dragons are undeniably the heaviest and largest lizards on Earth. Notoriously distinguished by their long, flat heads and rounded snouts, Komodo dragons have thrived in the harsh climate of Indonesia's Lesser Sunda Islands for millions of years. Yeah, we said millions, because this species of lizard is so darn successful that they carved out their own island in the Pacific Ocean millions of years ago and haven't left since. Nothing can stop them. As the apex predator of their handful of islands, the Komodo dragon will eat pretty much anything and everything, including deer, pigs, large water buffalo, and even smaller members of their species. In the most literal sense, the Komodo dragon is a fearless monster, and few creatures on Earth could ever face it down. The Cape buffalo. Cattle, as a rule, were domesticated thousands of years ago, which has now evolved into the wide variety of farmyard animals that we know today. However, there's a reason that the Cape buffalo, also known as the African buffalo, has never been subject to the same domestication. And that's because the Cape buffalo was potentially one of the most fearless creatures on the continent of Africa, perhaps even on Earth. Although they look docile, the Cape buffalo is a mean, unpredictable animal, unafraid of any form of confrontation, and responsible for as many as 200 human deaths per year in Africa. The reason that it's one of the most hunted animals out of Africa's Big Five isn't because it's prized or desirable, it's because the buffalo fears no one. Cats who take on gators. All right, nothing says fearlessness quite like a house cat taking on an alligator, right? Well, take a look at this jaw-dropping footage where a group of passing tourists witnessed a battle of epic proportions in southern Louisiana in a showdown between a gorgeous cat named Muggsy and a gang of terrifying alligators. Yeah, we're not making this up. As the alligators perused around the riverbank, they spotted a nearby feline that looked prime for the picking, and they slowly began to creep out of the water to get a free meal. However, the gators didn't realize that they were clawing at the wrong tree, because what happened next shocked everyone. Yeah, these gators messed with the wrong kitty. Who said house cats were lazy? Camels. And finally, what better way to complete this list than with the most unexpected fearless animal of all time, the camel. Wait, what? How is the camel a fearless animal? Well, given the fact that camels live in withering, dry, arid environments in which virtually nothing and no one can survive, it seems that they've developed a few tricks when it comes to pushing through the fear factor. Believe it or not, but camels can live relatively untroubled in up to 110-degree temperatures, and they can go up to 8 days without water and a month or more without food. That kind of evolutionary technology pits the camel in the same leagues as the tardigrade, effectively making them an unstoppable force in their own environments, perfectly attuned to thriving and surviving in perilous conditions that would otherwise terrify an ill-equipped animal. Camels, they may not seem it, but these things are pretty darn fearless. Well, there we have it, the 15 most fearless animals on the planet. What you guys think? Let us know your thoughts down below. And as always, thanks for sticking around all the way until the end. You've been watching Missing Files. See you next time.